Okay, right, we're now recording. Be careful what you say. Alright, so you don't need to write this obviously because we've already done it. We're on ratio, and last lesson we were looking at writing ratios in simplest form. Right, so simplest form was like fractions, but we said, so over in this work, over here, right, so when we started doing these questions, we had ratios that were simplified, and what we also did was discuss how they were represented by fractions as well. So, Tristan, can you tell me why 4 to 8 can be represented by 4 over 12 and 8 over 12?
Because 4 and 8 is 12, so you're finding what the total is.
Yeah. And so you have 4 out of the 12 and 8 out of the 12. Okay. So that's really, ratio is kind of doing the same thing. So if I said to you, split something so that I have 4 twelfths and you have 8 twelfths, okay, you know that the ratio would be 4 to 8. So we said last time, the thing about ratio is you get told the 2 parts and not the total amount. You have to work that out, not that it's hard. But with fractions, you probably get given one fraction, so one part and the total, and you're expected to be able to know the other part. Right? So if I know it's 4 twelfths, the other part has to be 8 twelfths. So there's different. Right, so we've got simplest form. So Camille, can you explain simplest form? How do we get to simplest form? By. There's a technical term, something we've learned before. Divide by the. We didn't talk about last lesson, so it's probably not going to be in your notes. Sushi?
We divide by the sum of the 2 ratios, and like we first make the 2 ratios.
What?
No. We first add the 2 ratios.
No, I just want to know what I divide the numbers by to simplify them. What's it called? Luke? Nope.
No.
Almost. Highest common factor. That's how you simplify a fraction, isn't it? You divide by the highest common factor. So in this case, 5. So we would say 5 is the highest, I will write it out in full, highest common factor of 5 and 20. Okay, so that's, so I don't know whether you've made that link yet, but when we did HCF and LCM, so simplifying, you use the highest common factor. What do we use the lowest common multiple for with fractions? Keep it simple.
We use them for like making them more.
Yeah, but why do you want to make them more? Because it's got to be a common multiple. Why do you need a lowest common multiple?
For example, if you have a cake with 8 pieces, and so you only know the fraction of 1 by 2. You need to find out the lowest. No,
No, there's an important thing is you're starting with 1 fraction. We only have a lowest common multiple when we've got how many fractions? 2 or more. We want to find the lowest common multiple, and that's because you are looking to make them
balance.
You're trying to find the same denominator so that you can do what with them? Luke? No. Well, why would you make them bigger to divide them? When do you need to make the denominators the same with fractions? What are you doing?
When you're
Yeah, when you're comparing fractions, you need them in the same denominator, so you need to find a common denominator. Yeah. Add and subtract, exactly. Yeah. So when you want to add and subtract, you need the same denominator, and there is a tip. Some people say the best way to do that is just multiply the 2 denominators together, don't they? And that will give you a common denominator. But that's not necessarily the lowest common multiple. Okay. Okay, and therefore there will need to be simplification afterwards. If you find the lowest common multiple, it won't need to be simplified. Anyway, we digress a little bit. So that's how we deal with the ratios just in simplified form. Now I did say last time that actually fractions can't have decimals in them, but ratios can. That's what makes them a bit different. So we have two things with ratios. We have simplest form, which is the same as simplest form with fractions, and then we have in the form 1 to n. Okay? You could also do n to 1. Alright? So what this is called, that is a unit ratio. So quite often when you want to compare things with ratios, you want to know what one thing is equivalent to. So if I have 1 franc, how many francs should you end up with? Right? And then from that, if I say, well actually I've got 63.2 francs, you can work out what you should end up with by knowing the 1 franc option. Is that clear? Is that where we're going to? So all we're going to do to start with is, well, we need to make the ratios 1 to whatever it is. Does that make sense to you? Do I need to go through one with you?
No. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
1. So in this 1 to n, I know the 2 has to be
Divided by 2?
a 1. Simple as that. So I've got to have 1 to something. So what did I do to 2? So I divided it by 2, so this has to be 5. Right. As an extension, because you obviously are the smart group, that is 1 to n. What would n to 1 be? Hello?
5 to 1.
It's not 5 to 1, no. Glad I asked. Sushi?
10 to 2?
Nope. We can't change it round.
Isn't just 2 to 10?
No. That has not got a 1 in it. Kid,
Is it 0.2 to 1?
why would it be 0.2 to
It's
1?
because 10 divided by 10 is 1, so 2 divided by 10 is 0.2.
Yeah, exactly. We divide by 10, divide by 10, so it becomes 0.2 to 1. Remember I said you can have decimals. And remember I said ratios have to be written one way round or another. They have to be written the same way. You can't swap them around. Okay? So for each one of these now, I'm going to get you to write them out as, for each one, 1 to n and n to 1.
Oh, 70.
Okay? You can have a calculator
Yes.
if you wish.